Hi, Saj Hussain here. Just a quick video to share with you something that I've had as an interesting learning today. So I spent a few hours in the office reviewing some of our tenants' rents. Now, I'm not sure if you're the kind of person that reviews your rents regularly, or if you're somebody that just sort of once a tenant moves in, you tend to leave them. I tend to be the latter, and for many years I've been of the opinion when a tenant moves in, you leave them, you don't bother them. If they're quite happy, they're paying the rent on time, you just leave them to it. And I've had an interesting day today where I've spent a few hours reviewing some of our tenant rents, comparing them to where they are with current market rents and what we're charging tenants at the moment. And it's been interesting because there's a number of tenants that have been in the properties for quite some time, and we haven't reviewed their rents because, as I said, I've been of the opinion you just leave them, they're quite happy, don't bother them. But actually what I've discovered, even if we had a small increase to bring some of them in line with market rents, and if we did that across the house, that would bring us in an additional about £3,000 a year profit on each HMO. Now, even if you've got a modest-sized portfolio, say 8 or 9 houses, that's about £25,000 a year, which is no small amount, considering that's probably the average income for somebody in the UK. So it was an interesting exercise, and I'm not sure necessarily we're going to increase all those rents, but just an eye-opener that actually by not doing that exercise, how much money you're potentially leaving on the table. So what I also did on the back of that is look at actually where we are with regards to rents. Are we charging market rents, below market rents, or above market rate? Now, there are some instances where we might charge above market rent. So right now it tends to be the busiest time of the year for us in terms of room lets for professionals in Birmingham. And because the demand is so high and our stock levels start depleting, what we do, we increase some of the rents, particularly on some of the more desirable rooms. And because there's many tenants after the same room, it means you can probably charge a little bit more. Now, let's say they move out in 6 months' time. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be able to charge the same rent again in 6 months' time. So I think having a record of what your tenants are paying compared to what the market rent is, whether you're able to achieve something that's above market rate, or whether it's something that may now be below rate because they've been there for quite some time. So as I said, by doing the exercise today, it was a real eye-opener for me that actually, although I've been of the opinion we should just leave the tenants, let them be, they're quite happy doing what they're doing, I think it's something we should be doing more frequently. So we've decided on a quarterly basis just to review where we are in terms of our rents that we're charging the tenants. And we manage a large portfolio because I have a HMO letting agency as well in Birmingham. And, you know, a small increase could be very easily absorbed by your tenant and can make a huge difference to you. It doesn't mean you necessarily now need to go across and increase the rents on all your tenants, but just explore the possibilities of that. So, for instance, one of the things we're doing at the moment is reviewing all the internet connections that we have in the house. We're trying to upgrade them to get faster connections, particularly with the amount of streaming and downloading people do online at the moment. And these are all justifications in terms of why you could possibly increase the rent on what you charge on a property at the moment. So it'd be useful to know your thoughts in terms of what you think. Do you review your rents on a regular basis, or have you been of the opinion like me that actually once they move in, just leave them, don't bother them until the tenant moves out and review it at that point? But sometimes we can get into the habit of, particularly with the number of properties we own and manage, that once the tenants moved in, they set a rent, and when the tenant moves out, if you don't review that figure, you might be missing out also on leaving money on the table as well. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Let me know your thoughts. You know, is it something that you would do, increase the rents, or is it something that you don't really consider doing? So I'm doing this without my glasses on, so bear with me while I try and read some of these messages. So reason why I'm suggesting is having difficulty collecting rents, full rents alone, never mind increase. I guess sometimes it depends on the type of tenants that you have. If there's an issue, the key thing is you nip it in the bud nice and early. You don't let it drag on. So if there's a problem, so generally we collect our rents on the 1st, so today we're the 2nd, and we give them a day or two grace. If the rent payments are not in, and we use an automated collection system using direct debits, if the rents are not in, we're on the case straight away. Somebody's ringing them up, texting what's happening, you know, what's going on, we haven't received your rent, is there something we can help with? And what you're doing then is minimizing any potential loss that you might occur. Because what I've found, to my detriment, in the early days, what I would do is just give people a bit of leniency, give people a time. And actually what I discovered is if someone's missing a payment, so for example they miss a month and they're trying to catch up, once they're a month or 2 or 3 behind, the chances of them catching up are very, very slim. Most people will be kind of living in a way where they're kind of hand to mouth. Really, they're not got any surplus cash at the end of the day. If they've fallen behind for a reason, they've not been able to pay that month's rent, chances of them catching up are quite slim. We'd still give people the benefit of the doubt, but we're on top of it very quickly. I think that's the key thing there. And of course, Rizwan is saying, so trying to hold on to good tenants. Yes, and that's always the view that I've had, that actually if you've got some good tenants, they're paying rent, they're looking after the property, if you increase the rent, the risk is they're going to serve notice and leave. If they serve notice and leave, and let's say you end up creating a void, which personally I don't think you should, but if you end up creating a void, then actually that potential increase you could have had, you've now created a loss by not collecting the rent. Just on that, if someone's gives notice, what we tend to do is ask for a month's notice and we start marketing the room straight away for another tenant, so we can minimise the amount of void that might be on that property. So I hope you found that useful. It was just a quick video. Let me know your thoughts. Just put the comments below and I'll try and catch up on the rest of the comments in a short while. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much.